good governance or nothing. Our country deserves it. Our people have every right to demand it. Good governance or nothing. It is the present and the future that should concern all of us. The past we must seek to understand and to learn from. What is our situation today and where are we headed? Is that where we want to go? And is where we are headed desirable? If not, what is the desirable place we need to be? And what do we need to do now to get there? I am talking, of course, about our country, Trinidad and Tobago. Every citizen is concerned about what is happening today. All are worried about the future. So I start with where the Trinidad and Tobago economy is today. We are faced with a situation in Trinidad and Tobago where there is no real growth in any non-energy sector. The only growth is in energy, more particularly natural gas and related sectors. And the reason we have growth in the natural gas sector is because of the fiscal decisions and investment agreements made with energy companies between 2011 and 2014 by the UNC government. It has nothing to do with anything that happened since 2015. There are incentives which made the natural gas boost that Trinidad and Tobago now enjoys possible, and which the Prime Minister roundly criticized in his Sunday night presentation. He, for instance, spoke of growth now, which comes only from the increase in natural gas production, which the incentives we gave made possible for Juniper, Truck, Angelin, and so on. But he wants to chastise the UNC for giving the incentives that made the increase in gas output possible. The Prime Minister often never tells the whole truth, but when you withhold part of the story to weave a deceptive narrative, what you are really doing is not telling a half-truth, but you are really telling a lie. This is what the Monetary Policy Report of the Central Bank said in December 2018, 1 month ago. This is produced by the Central Bank. I quote from it. Activity in the non-energy sector continued to decline, albeit at a much slower pace than in the previous 6-month period. Preliminary data suggests that activity in the non-energy sector fell slightly by 0.2% in the first half of 2018. That same monetary policy report shows that when you take the first 6 months of 2017 and 2018 together, relative to 2016, the non-energy sector declined by 5.8% relative to the same period in 2016. So things are not good in the economy outside of energy. And were it not for the UNC government, there would be no good news whatsoever in energy, because there was a nearly 10-year period from 2000 to 2002 to 2010 when there was no drilling at all in Trinidad and Tobago. Let us take the various sectors one by one. Construction has declined by 11.24%. This is based on the December report. Manufacturing by 11.18%. Distribution by 8.8%. This is a story of every sector outside of energy going further into decline. Moreover, private sector credit, which is an indicator of investment activity in the private sector for a number of non-energy sectors, continues to decline. Credit to the manufacturing sector fell by 20.9% in June 2018, year on year. Relative to June 2016, food, drink, and tobacco fell by 25%, chemical and non-metallic minerals by 41.8%, construction by 39%. What this means is that small, if any, profits are being made by business. What this means is that there is a business contraction. What this means is that there is a loss of jobs. What this means is there is an absence of job opportunities. These numbers point to the continued dwindling investment in critical non-energy sectors. Why is this? It is because of a low level of confidence and growing uncertainty and anxiety in our country on economic matters. It is also because of the high cost of borrowing from commercial banks, where the median prime lending rate currently stands at 9.5%. TT companies are invested in Jamaica, in St. Martin, in Colombia, in the Dominican Republic, and across the wider region, but they are not investing in Trinidad and Tobago. Why? Because no one knows where the country is headed. They wish to escape foreign exchange constraints and problems, and they see no plan for getting out of the recession and getting to confidence and growth. They will pay less taxes abroad. They will not have foreign exchange problems. What has been the Rowley PNM policy so far contributing to this situation? Because it's directly related to their policy. Because we are in a situation, because of bad policy decisions over the last 1.5 years, and that is why the situation is so grim. Increased taxes of 30% for business, 35% for banks, increased VAT across the board, business levy, green fund levy. If big business is struggling to survive, small, medium, and family businesses are suffocating and dying. Higher taxes, needless bureaucratic problems in doing business. The ease of doing business index, for instance, dropped 30 points to 105. Increased fuel costs and mismanagement of the forest regime have all contributed to dampening enthusiasm in the business community and has shattered their confidence. Productivity continues to fall, and the cost of doing business in Trinidad and Tobago is rising. Foreign investors are actually leaving. Last year, the foreign direct investment was minus 422.4 million US. These are central bank figures. You can find them on the website. In 2015, it was 661.45 million. During the UNC years in government, over $4 billion in foreign investment came in to Trinidad and Tobago. And I did not even mention crime. We commend the police commissioner for his efforts, but the murders continue and the fear of crime persists. One of the reasons for capital outflows is the widening negative differential between Trinidad and Tobago and US short-term interest rates. This is one of the things which contributed to Standard & Poor's revising their outlook on Trinidad and Tobago earlier this year. The rate on 3-month US Treasuries is 2.38%, while in Trinidad and Tobago it is 1.3%. There will be additional increases in the US Fed fund rate, and local investors, especially institutional investors, will find these more attractive. When this happens, it worsens our capital flight situation and eventually the foreign exchange availability. The Rowley government does not know what they are doing and do not know what to do. And people are therefore depositing less foreign currency in local banks because they don't know what might happen here. This also is in the central bank report. All of this information is contained in the monetary policy report, and every number I have used here is taken from the central bank website. This is happening because the current situation of the Trinidad and Tobago economy is so horrible, made so by the inept, contradictory, and incoherent policies of the Rowley regime. They have run this country to the ground, and they are digging for all of us a hole which is of their making. If this country is in any hole, it is the hole that Keith Rowley and Colm Imbert are digging for us because of their obsession with natural gas and energy, their emphasis on taxes as a revenue-raising measure, their emphasis on contractionary policies which have undermined investment, the business sector and consumer confidence, and which has caused insecurity everywhere. They have run this country to the ground already, and as long as they stay there, it will get worse. This country has to be rescued. The decline has to be arrested. In the past, the decisions of the UNC to facilitate new drilling between 2011 and 2014, which has resulted in the surge of natural gas now, and which will take us to 2022, was the rescue mission. That rescued us from nearly a decade of no decisions and no investments in the energy sector by the PNM from 2002 to 2010. But between 2019 and 2020, this Rowley government will take us, and perhaps I should not use this word in this congregation, but this Rowley government with their policies is going to take us to hell. So we have to rescue our country again. It will be to hell with the PNM and back to jobs and growth with the UNC. To hell and back. There was a movie named by that name. But what does the UNC need to do to take us back from hell? Why do I say we are going to hell under the stewardship of Dr. Rowley and Mr. Imbert? We are depleting foreign reserves at the net rate of 160 billion annually. By the end of 2020, at this rate, foreign reserves will be just over $3 billion less. That is to say, 160 plus 160. We'll be entering 2021 with less than 4 months of import cover. The balance of payment situation, not in our favor now, is likely to be worse, especially if there are dips in oil and gas prices, as seems to be the expectation. Our unemployment will not improve, it will get worse. The labor participation rate is now 59%, one of the worst in the world of countries of our GDP per capita. And with business closures, retrenchment, and lack of job opportunities, unemployment will be higher over the next 2 years, perhaps moving to close to 6%. Currently, there are 6,000 university graduates who cannot get jobs. We can never get from government the accurate figures for retrenchment and job losses, but we know that it is huge. What about the 18-year-olds out of high school? The job market is rough, and without new investment for diversification, significant manufacturing or services exports, no positive signs for job creation is on the horizon. The Imbert deficit is $25 billion now after 3 years, more than the 5 years of the UNC for 2010 to 2015. That is going to continue. By 2020, it will be at least $35 billion, the largest 5-year deficit in the history of Trinidad and Tobago by a single government. The debt is going to go up. It is 62% now. Consider the guarantee the government will have to provide for the Malcolm Jones debt at Petro-Trinidad refinanced through a bond in 2019. You would notice that amidst all the chastising of the UNC for overspending in his insinuation that the UNC increased debt, at the time that the UNC demitted office and handed over to the PNM, the GDP ratio for debt was 45%. Prime Minister Rowley never mentioned once the Malcolm Jones debt, which made the closure of the Petro-Trinidad refinery almost inevitable. Then there is the proposed $1.5 billion housing bond mentioned in the last budget. And of course the $4 billion budget deficit for last year, which will be higher. This will take our debt burden to $107 billion plus, or 66% of our GDP. If we take the government numbers, but the fiscal deficit for last year will be larger than $4 billion. Why the same underperformance and continuing decline I talked about earlier in the non-energy sector? Then there's a spillover effect of the Petrotrin closure, and I don't think the government is even calculating the loss of vital economic value and activity due to natural disasters such as flooding, because there is a cost to the economy for that. We could well reach the point where every one of our 1.4 million citizens will have to pay approximately $100,000 each to repay the Imbert Rowley PNM debt. I do not know what implications this will have for how the rating agencies will view us and what level of further downgrade will be subjected to. Standard & Poor's will visit soon, and there is talk that the Rowley government has severed relations with Moody's. I'm going to ask a question on it in Parliament this Friday. I do not know if this is a fact, but I would like the government to tell us, and that is why I'm asking the question. Only time will tell, but things do not look good with Dr. Rowley in power until 2020. And thinking of continuing with Dr. Rowley after 2020 could induce a massive headache across our entire nation and make a healthy nation sick. So when we remove the Rowley government, what do we put, given the hole that we will be in? And I want to address that question too. Because you just can't move one and put the other just so. What are we putting them for? You can only get effective government if you start with competence. A person does not have to be competent in everything, but one has to have competence in something or a few things. Because in government, you have to lead, you have to manage, you have to organize, you have to collaborate, you have to cooperate to achieve results, to get things done, to make things happen. There has to be a vision and a plan in politics, or else the whole ship of state will fall down. Just look at the whole Rowley government down now without a plan. They opposed the procurement legislation. They delayed it at every opportunity when in opposition. Keith Rowley, then leader of the opposition, was in fact on the Joint Select Committee to deal with procurement. He left it. Since 2015, they have amended it twice, each time reducing the power of the procurement regulator. By the time they proclaimed this legislation, the procurement process for every big project by the Rowley administration will have been completed. Their plan was to subvert good governance from the very beginning. And where is their plan for the economy and for good governance? From the beginning, we said they had none, and everyone sees now that they do not have any. The role of execution is fundamental. Institutions fall on execution and implementation. That is why the Rowley government has nothing to show in their fourth year and fall back now on blaming the UNC government. Vision is great, plan is a necessity, but execution is where the rubber hits the road. Sincere, responsive representation is essential. People are crying out for it every day. We must include people and partner with them in the communities and rationally, so that they are part of the governance process. We must do this in the communities, we must do this in the nation. In our time, we must go beyond government of the people, by the people, and for the people. We must govern in partnership with the people. There is no substitute for respect. If you don't build a relationship on respect, a home on respect, a community on respect, all fall down. So to a society and its institutions, so to the relationship between political representatives and the people, so to the relationship between government and the people. So what do we need to replace the Rowley government with? We have to replace it with competence, with vision, with a plan, with execution capability, with sensitive and responsive representation, with a partnership with the people, not contempt for them, and with respect for all as part of the business of co-governance. But I think when people ask for good governance, they are asking that attention be paid to the ethical dimension of government responsibility as well. and respectful attention to public opinion that is grounded in reason. But there is more. The founder of the UNC, former Prime Minister Basil Pandey, said once that politics has a morality of its own. And that may be true. Maybe that is why Trinidad and Tobago is so. That is why the politics is so. That is why people are so fed up. This anything goes politics is crippling a nation. So politics may have a morality of its own, but we need effective, responsive government, and we need good governance. The people we serve and who put us in office, we must have regard for them. Democracy is not just an election. It is a continuing engagement between leaders and led, and governance today is co-leadership. If we have little regard for our people, we will not serve them well, and eventually they will rebel as they are rebelling now, frustrated, angry, sometimes resentful. So an ethical framework and regard for the views of others are important. Good government requires them. Good governance demands them. Integrity in politics is not just a buzzword. It is only then that you can talk about diversity and gender and youth and experience and other things. If you have these core things anchored and fulfilled. A good chicken pilau tastes nice and looks nice, but you have to season the chicken sufficiently. You have to get fresh pigeon peas. You have to get a little coconut milk for flavor. You have to have just the right touch of salt and black pepper and maybe a little pepper. And you have to cook it just right to the degree of wetness to get it to perfection as a pilau. Things don't just happen just so, they don't just gel just so. The governance issues after the destruction of the economy under Dr. Keith Rowley and the brutalization of the fabric of our society and the arrogance shown to the ordinary citizen will not be easy. Economic recovery, jobs and prosperity will come if we join hands and work together for a common purpose, a more peaceful, prosperous, civil Trinidad and Tobago with a sustainable economic future based on a diversified economy, exporting to diversified markets, and environmentally sound planning for future generations to enjoy. Peace, prosperity, progress, sustainability, unity. These are important things together with the other things that I mentioned before. These are things we must work together for, and we must ensure that we get the kind of people and quality of people in government to make this possible. We have been disappointed many times, and I am sure that you want to make it right this time. Start in your community, your constituency, and in your party. That is how this system works. As citizens, you must take responsibility, or else you are going to end up unhappy and perhaps disappointed again. What is democracy anyway if not the voice and will of the people acting in their own interests and their representatives serving them by listening to them? So the UNC is your party. Make it reflect your way, make it reflect your dreams and your will. I have tried to represent you well and with dignity in Parliament. I hope that I have succeeded from the day that I became MP in September 2015 for Caroni Central. I spent 3.5 days every week in my constituency. I have walked in your communities and been in your communities for your problems and your celebrations. I've done this in 2016, in 2017, in 2018, and I will be there in 2019 as well. We got the police to partner with us to address crime in the communities. It is better now, although it is not perfect. I have been there for you, and you have been there for me. I am the only parliamentarian who has produced newsletters accounting to the people for every year that I have served. And I have respected you and conducted myself in the constituency and in the nation in a way to make you proud. I am present on TV when I have to and on radio for important issues that matter. I have taken the job of representation and the job of constructive contribution to nation building seriously. I don't think anyone can say that I have been involved in any foolishness and bacchanal. I've conducted myself with dignity and respected you, the people, which is why I behave the way that I do. I don't want to make you shame. I close by making reference once more to Prime Minister Rowley's presentation. I will address some of these matters next week because I intend to speak on them. But I want to address this issue of the 29 billion which has stuck in people's head. Dr. Rowley made his presentation to give the impression that $29 billion was wasted, stolen, or unaccounted for. And that if this government had that 29 billion, they would have been able to do several projects with it. Again, this is a misrepresentation of the facts and a manipulation of the numbers. Part of this 29 billion is a central bank overdraft of 9 billion, which we have answered over and over in the Parliament. You would remember when Colin Imbert said in 2016 that we had maxed out the central bank overdraft. But the overdraft was a temporary facility at a time when oil prices had plummeted. The signals for a downward movement of energy prices came in June 2014 with a dramatic fall in January 2015. We lost office in UNC in September 2015. The overdraft was to be repaid by the end of January 2016 in the following manner. From quarterly year-end tax payments from the oil companies, $6.5 billion. Funds from the NGL IPO, $1.5 billion. TGU funding, $3.5 billion. $500 million in dividends from NGC. And there was a loan from FCB for $1 billion just in case. This total amount available, when you add up the numbers I just called, is 13 billion. It was more than what was needed to cover the overdraft. Former Finance Minister Larry Hawaii went to see incoming Minister Colin Imbert and explained it all to him. But the Rowley PNM spent all of 2016 talking about it to make the UNC look bad. For whatever reason, they did not address the overdraft until 2017 and the 2017 accounts. This is a fact. But today, Imbert has raised the ceiling for the overdraft borrowing by the government to beyond what it was in our time. Their current overdraft at the central bank is larger than ours ever was. And the IMF, in their last report on Trinidad and Tobago, has warned about overdraft borrowing from the central bank. I know about what transpired between former Minister of Finance Larry Hawaii and Colin Imbert in 2015 because Larry and I spoke the night before he went to see Imbert. And he spoke to me on the morning that he was going to see Imbert. So I know what transpired. And I knew they had the information. Now, I am chairman of the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament. And I had the secretary of the committee write to the governor of the central bank on the use of central bank overdraft facility. And he indicated two things. One, that such facility has been used by successive governments beginning in 2003. So it was nothing new in 2014. Secondly, he said that the specific $9 billion overdraft which Rowley is talking about was well within the law and below the central bank limit at that time. I want to point out also that $62 billion was budgeted for by the UNC government in the election year 2015, but only $59 billion was actually spent. This can be verified by going to the Auditor General's report of 2017 or any of the government documents that gives that information. The other issue was NGC, which the Prime Minister said the UNC government raided 4 times. It is almost as if the Prime Minister was accusing the UNC government of misappropriation. And I'm sure that that was the impression he wanted to convey to the population. In 2014 and 2015, the NGC, the National Gas Company of Trinidad and Tobago, made the highest profits ever in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. That was also the time when oil and gas prices were beginning to fall and revenue was falling. Remember June 2014, January 2015. The State Enterprises Performance Manual provides for dividends to be paid from distributable profits and retained earnings. The NGC Annual Report 2015 as well as the consolidated financial statements of 2015 show that all dividends for the year 2015 were paid from retained earnings by the NGC. What Dr. Rowley did not say is that 3.684 billion in dividends from NGC were paid to the PNM government after September 2015 through direct requests from the Minister of Finance, Colm Imbert. He made those requests in September, he made those requests in October, he made those requests in November, and he made those requests in December 2015. There were actually 6 disbursements which can be rounded off to a total of just under $4 billion. So what we are getting is a very skewed story. We are not being given the truth, and it is not responsible for the Prime Minister of the nation to talk about an address to the nation and then misstate the facts in the way that he did. Dr. Rowley talks about short-term borrowings. Yes, there were short-term borrowings. You know why there were short-term borrowings in 2015? Because the banks indicated that they needed time to design and construct the long-term borrowing instruments and asked the then Minister of Finance to take short-term loans to be converted later to long-term loans. This is what the Rowley government had to do because we lost the election and they became the government. They just did what any government would have had to do: convert short-term loans into longer-term borrowings. Is that not what they will have to do with the Malcolm Jones debt at Petrotrin by raising a bond internationally? And there was no recklessness in the UNC debt of short-term or long-term borrowings. It was a straightforward transaction to pay for things, goods and services for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And we can account for what it was paid for and how the loans were used. The Petrotrin loan cannot be rationally explained. After almost a decade, we have not had a proper explanation for that Petrotrin loan. Now, would Dr. Rowley classify those requests by the Minister of Finance between September and December 2015 as raids on the NGC? Would he do that? Why then would he classify the requests for NGC loans or NGC dividends on the part of the United National Congress as raids on the Treasury? The total dividends paid to the Minister of Finance in 2014 and 2015 was 12.6 billion. The total amount paid to Minister of Finance, Colm Imbert, from September to December 2015 was just under 4 billion. I think that Dr. Rowley needs to be a little more circumspect and not so loose in his pronouncement. In any case, the NGC dividend issue and the central bank overdraft issue have been dealt with in Parliament on various occasions by the Leader of the Opposition and on other occasions by myself. The Hansard record will recount what was said. When the UNC takes over from this government, we will address flooding irrigation for agricultural production, water capture, and community environmental enhancement with a comprehensive nationwide job creation action plan. This will put thousands of people to work in sustainable activity that will make a long-term difference to the country, and fully engage the Ministry of Works and the local government corporations. We will spare no resources to use the law to deal with gangs and to reduce murders and bring crime under control. We will make a serious commitment to effective government and good governance. And you, the people, must press for that. I want to say that to you. It's important that you be part of the democratic process. It will not be easy to reverse the recession and stagnation and the deepening hole between now and 2020. I've given you an idea of where we are headed. But with competence, a clear vision, a good plan, execution capacity, responsive government and good governance practice, it can be done and it will be done. At the present time, the political leader has assigned to work on the local government and general election manifesto various committees. I am on 2 teams. I am also involved in the coordination. We are preparing for government, and I think you know that I did the manifesto in 2015 and 2010 as well for the then People's Partnership and the UNC. We will engage seriously in public-private partnerships. The San Fernando Waterfront project, which went through a long consultation process during my tenure as Minister of Planning and Sustainable Development, and which was approved by the UNC Cabinet, was meant to be a project to encourage private investment. The government seemed to be turning it into another debt for taxpayers by government spending. Imagine taxpayers' money is to fund sandals. This project may never get off the ground, but the thinking is all wrong. Finally, we will ensure that this country, Trinidad and Tobago, attracts investment by making the appropriate monetary and fiscal adjustments in alignment with an investment-oriented economy. We need foreign investment in energy and non-energy. We need our local companies to invest here, not only elsewhere, and we need new entrepreneurs and more innovation. I left a cabinet-approved innovation policy on the desk of the Minister of Planning. I have no idea what has happened here. Finally, we need to embrace our tertiary graduates in meaningful jobs, driven by science, technology, and research, and unleash entrepreneurial and innovative capacity as well. We must not frustrate them and cause them to leave this country. We need their talent. We must harness their intellectual and creative power. Many of them might be your own children. A mind is a terrible thing to waste. My sisters, my brothers, we must prepare for the post-Rowley era. We must prepare for good government to rescue the country. Trinidad and Tobago must be reset on job creation, recovery, investment, growth, diversification, export and technology-driven innovation path, but also on national unity and sustainable development. The alternative is to sink in lament and backwardness. We cannot allow that. We will bring our people together to work on solutions. We must find our own solutions. They will not come from elsewhere. We must collaborate, but we must find our own solution. This is a vital time when we must work together for renewal of the country. It needs to be renewed. And taking a cue from a former president of the United States, I put forward this proposal. Ask not what you can do for a politician. Ask not what a politician can do for you. Ask instead what we must do together to rescue a country and build a nation. That is what I put to you. Ask not what you can do for a politician. Ask not what a politician can do for you. Ask instead what we must do together, what must we do together to rescue our country and build a viable nation? I thank you very much for listening to me, and I will answer any questions you pose to me. Thank you very much.